Good morning, everyone. Today I will be discussing the Great Barrier Reef and the effects climate change and human activities has on the largest natural ecosystem in the world. The Great Barrier Reef is currently under threat from climate change and other anthropogenic activities that diminish air quality and water quality via the deposition of contaminants originating from industrial processes. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest carbon sink in the world and is responsible for removing a large amount of carbon dioxide and other contaminants from the atmosphere. So what is the Great Barrier Reef, you might ask? It is one of the largest natural ecosystems on the planet and is considered the largest coral reef system. Covering over 344,000 square miles, the reef is comprised of 3,000 individual reef systems, along with 760 fringe reefs and 600 tropical islands. Located off the northeastern coast of Australia, the Great Barrier Reef has been listed as a part of UNESCO's World Heritage Site since 1981. It has also been acknowledged as one of Earth's 7 natural wonders due to its ecological importance and extreme biodiversity, containing 1,625 different species of coral or fish and over 600 species of coral, and is home to more than 25% of all known marine species on Earth. To date, there has been a total of 6 mass coral bleaching events since 1998, and 3 of those events have occurred in the past 6 years. The importance of the Great Barrier Reef on a global scale is not well understood due to complex models involving ocean currents and circulating wind patterns carrying around warmer temperature and contaminants that are trapped in the air. However, the ecological importance of the Great Barrier Reef is considered to be very impactful in regard to carbon sequestration, shoreline protection from erosion, water purification, while also providing habitats for many different aquatic organisms. This large ecosystem is also a large tourist attraction, generating a significant amount of income for the country of Australia. Climate change is the greatest threat facing the Great Barrier Reef today due to unregulated human activities that continue to produce large amounts of carbon dioxide and other contaminants such as sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxides, which are then emitted into the atmosphere. The deposition of these contaminants in the atmosphere causes issues within the natural ecosystem, specifically the Great Barrier Reef. These issues include, but are not limited to, ocean acidification, coral bleaching, overpopulation of coral predators, severe weather damaging the coastline and the reef itself. Researchers have found the leading cause of ocean acidification is absorption of free CO2 from the atmosphere. In 2002, the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority conducted a survey on the Great Barrier Reef to determine the extent of coral bleaching. The study found that 90% of coral reefs experienced some bleaching that year. According to the EPA, ocean acidity has increased about 25% from pre-industrial times to the earliest 21st century. Coral reefs contain a large amount of calcium carbonate, providing a significant amount of buffering capacity, resulting in the ability of the water to resist a change in pH. With the loss of coral reefs, the water loses its buffering characteristics and is more sensitive to changes in pH, accelerating ocean acidification. Carbonates found in seawater is also used by organisms to build shells and skeletal structures. As seawater becomes more acidic, carbonate is less available and is transferred to bicarbonate due to increasing ocean acidity. Nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides emitted by industrial processes contribute to increasing acidification because they're easily absorbed by the surface of the ocean. By reducing global greenhouse emissions, we would allow the planet to catch up in terms of regulating the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere via natural carbon sequestration and photosynthetic respiration. By enhancing carbon dioxide sequestration methods, we would be able to remove CO2 from the atmosphere, thus reducing the potential for further ocean acidification. Coral bleaching. Recent studies have revealed that coral bleaching is primarily caused by rising ocean temperatures, as opposed to ocean acidification like previously thought by scientists. Warmer than usual water temperatures disrupt the natural cycles of coral reefs and other marine life. During warmer periods, the corals expel photosynthetic algae out of its body, which depletes its own food source and eliminates its color, giving the coral its bleached look. The potential for corals to adapt to warmer waters was observed in a small number of coral reefs in shallower waters. Scientists have been working towards a technology known as synthetic biology, which would provide some corals with heat-resistant properties of other corals that have adapted to warmer waters. The public is consulted on the implementation of genetically modified corals into the Great Barrier Reef, as little information is available on the effect that introducing these corals to the reef system would have on surrounding ecosystems. A large portion of residents support the implementation of genetically modified coral, with some conditions being requested, such as strict regulations on implementation and research to be done on the technology and its impacts on surrounding ecosystems. Coral predators are organisms that feed primarily on corals and coral reef system. These coral predators include the crown-of-thorn starfish and Drupella, a species of snail. Over 100 species of coral reef organisms have been shown to feed on coral or crown-of-thorn starfish at some point in their life cycle. Some of these species include, but are not limited to, reef fish, rock cod, and tropical snappers. Since the 1960s, 4 starfish outbreaks have occurred in the Great Barrier Reef. When starfish predators are removed, coral predators populations such as crown-of-thorn starfish increase dramatically due to an abundance of food and minimal threat of predation. In studies, overpopulation of coral predators have shown to have detrimental effects on the reef system. Human activities such as fishing is the main cause of loss of starfish predators in the reef system due to overfishing or lack of fishing regulations. In areas close to the public, coral predator populations were determined to be 1/3 than areas where fishing is allowed. There is good news though. On the other effects on the reef, like climate change, are difficult to manage, but overpopulation of starfish is easy to manage through better fishing practices and fish management. Severe weather such as cyclones or hurricanes has been increasing in intensity and frequency in recent years due to climate change and global greenhouse gas emissions. Cyclones damage the Great Barrier Reef, diminishing its ability to reduce coastline erosion caused by severe weather events. Mangroves and wetlands also provide a buffer for coastline erosion. Reduce wave energy by some solutions to control severe weather would be to reduce wave energy by implementing wave reduction methods. Coastal breakwater is a technique that involves applying a concrete or rock structure of the shoreline to break the waves, reducing wave energy and thus reducing shoreline erosion. Storms such as cyclones have become more frequent and more violent due to climate change and rising global temperatures. By reducing global gas emissions, we could lessen the severity of storms and also reduce the frequency of powerful storms. This would ultimately protect the Great Barrier Reef and coastline. Finally, developing enhanced modeling techniques in regard to wind patterns and ocean currents to better understand development of powerful cyclones over the ocean. So for future considerations, by reducing global gas emissions, we would be able to solve a significant amount of issues presented today, primarily involving climate change. The emission of contaminants such as carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and sulfur oxide contribute to rising global temperatures and diminish air quality around the globe. Air and water quality around the globe. More must be done to protect our oceans and sensitive ecosystems. Furthermore, to protect the Great Barrier Reef, the implementation of genetically modified corals is a promising solution, whilst best management practices like population management of coral predators is a much simpler solution. And that is my presentation. Thank you for your time today. I hope you learned something about the Great Barrier Reef.